Hello, I'm Felicity Cohen. I'm so excited to introduce you to my Wellness Warriors podcast. For over 20 years, I've been a passionate advocate for helping thousands of Australians find solutions to treating obesity and health-related complications through surgical intervention and holistic managed care. My podcast is dedicated to all the people, past, present and future, who have helped shape my journey and continue to inspire me to work consistently to achieve a healthier Australia in both adults and future generations. I hope you enjoy it. Today, it is my great pleasure to introduce a really beautiful patient who has been incredibly connected over the last 12 months to Weight Loss Solutions Australia, and her story is nothing less than absolutely fabulous. Please welcome Candice.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Hello, thank you so much for coming along the podcast today. I really appreciate you coming along and taking the time.
I'm super excited to be here.
So I guess first of all, let's go back in time and talk about, when you were growing up, how did food play a part in your life, and when did you actually see that start to become a problem for you?
For me, I'd always been the bigger kid, especially in my family. My family was super fit. They had the ability to pick up any sport and just naturally excel at it. For me, it was a little bit more difficult and a little bit more complicated. Being the overweight person in the family as well is quite hard when you've got a family that is very outgoing, loves to be outdoors and active and exercising. And that sort of continued all the way on through to high school. I was always the bigger girl in school, in class, having those social anxiety issues as well. And as I got older, it continued. I'd look for just the easiest option as work gets so complicated and you get so mentally tired. You don't have time. You're rushing to work in the morning at 6 a.m. and the most convenient thing is what you're after. And it was stop at McDonald's, get brekkie there in the morning. And then during the day, because you're eating rubbish, you feel like rubbish. So you're trying to constantly fuel your body, and that relationship for me was very dangerous. I put on a lot of weight throughout those years. I neglected myself while throwing myself into my job. And those unhealthy relationships with food and eating and not being mindful about myself is something that I've dealt with for quite a long time. But with the help of WLSA, I'm so happy. I've never been this happy, healthy, continuing to kick goals and really push myself beyond my expectations of what I can do, thanks to the change in my bodies. Just the little things just make it so much better.
What did that relationship look like with your family? I can't even imagine what that would have looked like for you, feeling as though you were quite different from everybody else in the family, that they were all thinner people.
Yeah.
How did that play out with your relationship with your family, with your siblings and your parents?
I must admit, I have a fantastic family. They are super supportive, and they try and help you throughout the journey. They can see you struggle, but unfortunately, no one can really help you achieve what you need to achieve. They try and help me with dieting. So, from such a young age, I remember I was always on a diet, always trying to change my habits, and it was a struggle because it was felt forced rather than something that I was really wanting to do. And it was a miserable experience. It wasn't due to lack of support or anything. As I said, I had such a supportive family who only wanted the best for me. But I just was so down in myself. I don't think I could accept that, that I was ready for that journey at that time. I wasn't really, prepared for it. So you continue to fail, and when you fail and you see people that are constantly excelling quite easily, it's quite hard to sit there and try and put on that happy face and push yourself to do things when it is hard. It's difficult.
It sounds quite disheartening.
Yes.
I'm really curious about how you kind of became attached to eating things like McDonald's. Was there other junk foods that you would go to?
My brother actually used to joke with me. I know this sounds really horrible, but he used to call me a junk food junkie. I loved sugar. I was a massive sugar, and because I was so tired all the time and lethargic, I would reach for sugar as that comfort, as that quick boost of energy that I felt I needed, that would fuel my body to get me to the next stage or where I needed to be. And that's, really treacherous. you sort of, and then you start to sort of shame eat as well, where you're not comfortable in yourself and you feel bad that you can't sit there and enjoy a meal with everyone. You kind of feel like you've got to hide it, and you might sit in the car and eat something rather than actually being able to enjoy a meal and focus on the food and being mindful while eating it. It was more of like a guilt relationship with food, and it was really, really horrible. Like when I look at it now, I've come a long way, but yeah, you sort of have that relationship with food as it's your comforter.
Do you feel as though it was a bit of an addictive behavioural cycle for you?
100% it was, and I couldn't get enough. Like honestly, it was, as I said, that sugar rush, the endorphins in your brain, that's eating those foods, you think that that's making you happy, but it really isn't. It's, feeding that level of failure and not feeling confident in yourself, and feeling the need to hide rather than actually being socially comfortable and being able to put yourself out there.
I've heard it said that addiction to sugar is actually even far more addictive than an addiction to cocaine, for example.
Yeah.
So it becomes your drug. It's your drug of choice, and
Yeah.
it's driving. Obviously, there's a response that you're getting every time you go for that sugar fix, that you're getting that high.
Yes.
The highs and the lows, obviously, that you deal with afterwards.
Yeah.
What were your foods of choice when it came to choosing sugary foods?
Anything, honestly. I did not discriminate. It would be chocolate, and it's not just a chocolate bar, it would be a block of chocolate, it would be Coke, it would be an iced coffee, but not just an iced latte. It would be iced coffee with sugar syrups and hazelnut flavoring, or just anything to get me feeling like I was, had that energy or feeling good about myself, just giving you those endorphin release. And as you said, you get that high and then it's just a crash, and you sort of look at yourself and you think, oh my God, like what am I doing to my body? Why, and then you start thinking, oh, am I actually worth it? And then you just keep feeding this addiction and just constantly, trying to get that high back where you feel happy, or you get to enjoy something and something goes off in your brain, but you're not really happy. That moment soon fades.
It's a vicious cycle, and I think it's really valuable to learn from you that you actually learnt through that how to value your own self-worth, and looking at that as part of this picture of addiction. So what did that addictive behaviour look like? And you clearly had the insight into yourself and what that looked like for you, that you reached that point in time where that addictive behaviour needed to change.
Yes, 100%.
So I think it's also fascinating looking at the types of foods that become addictive, whether it's the sugar. McDonald's, we know, is highly addictive, and what does that do for people on a regular basis? And it is dangerous. It's fraught with danger.
Yeah.
At what point in time did you say to yourself, I need to actually draw a line in the sand, I need to break this addiction and this behaviour or relationship that I've got with poor food choices? How and when did you make that choice?
For me, I got to 139 kilos, something I'm not proud of by any means. I was exhausted, health issues were piling up, high blood pressure, sleep apnea, going to bed at night and having to wear a face mask to breathe is something that is not appealing at all. It was just my hormones were out, thyroid problems, and it just contributed to a lot of things, depression, social anxiety, because I wasn't comfortable. That's not who I am or who I knew myself to be, and that's not who I wanted to be. I achieved a lot of things in my career, and I am a goal-getter, but for me, I let myself go. And one day, I remember we went for a walk, just a simple stroll, nothing intense, and my breathing, I was struggling to breathe for such a short walk. And I played sports when I was younger, netball, softball, all these things, but just a simple walk up the road was effort. That was something that I really, that health scare for me was something's got to change. This is not who I want to be. I'm worth more than that, and it's time to invest in myself and actually make that change. And for me, it was, I sort of looked at a lot of options. As I said, I tried every diet known to man. And then I found WLSA, strolled across, put my information in, and I got a phone call from you guys so quickly, and you guys were so fast to act. It was nice. I, met with the team, the psychologist, the nurse, dietitian, and they were there. they were supportive. They were ready to help me on this journey. As much as I was ready, I was scared to take that step. You know, you sort of start to think to yourself, am I actually worth it? Is it worth investing? Can I afford this? And you know what? The best decision I've ever made in my life. I am so happy. I've changed my relationship with food thanks to the dietitians helping educate, you know, on fueling your body. And thanks to this surgery, it's so important to fuel your body with the right foods.
Yeah.
And you notice the difference between when you're not eating the protein or the correct foods versus when you are. Your life just changes. It's such an incredible journey to be a part of, and I'm so happy that I did come across WLSA because I couldn't have done it without you guys.
I think it's pretty powerful to learn that you're probably a reflection of so many other people. At age 34 or 33, you were suffering from a whole host of medical conditions that 33-year-olds should not have to be exposed to, you know, thyroid conditions, sleep apnea, sleeping with a CPAP machine at 33 years of age.
Yeah.
That really shouldn't happen. And unfortunately, these are the things that I see in patients every single day. And I think it's really important to highlight that those are the things that we're treating that can change the most significantly and the fastest. And getting you off a CPAP machine, that must be so liberating.
Oh, it's so good not having to fill the water machine up every night and hook myself up and, you know, have tubes, or when you try and roll over at night, you know, getting caught in your tubes and waking up. Or it's just so nice to be able to go to bed and just have a relaxing night's sleep. It doesn't matter which way I toss or turn, I'm comfortable. I'm not getting caught up in these tubes, or, you know, it's just a relief. It's incredible. It
is incredible, and I think so important to talk about this because there are a lot of people out there with undiagnosed sleep apnea, those who don't sleep with CPAP machines and those who do. And I think it's so valuable to learn that you can get off that machine, and it's a very antisocial machine to sleep with.
It is
clearly.
horrible.
You know, at 33 years of age with a husband next to you, it's probably the last thing on earth that you want to have in your life.
Not very appealing.
It's not the sexiest
Not romantic at all.
Definitely not. So, I mean, congratulations for getting rid of that. I think that's so valuable to learn.
Thank you.
As far as having high blood pressure and other medical concerns, how do they all look now?
Okay, so blood pressure's gone completely. I was on the verge of having diabetes, all gone. My mental health is just so much better. The fact I don't have the social anxieties, I'm happy to go, and if someone asks me to do something, I say yes. I don't say no anymore. I'm not sitting on the couch. I'm not hiding away. I'm comfortable to go out and do these things and achieve goals and, you know, things I never thought I would ever do.
So actively living your life.
Yes, 100%.
That's an incredible transformation, and something that I'm learning more and more about when I'm talking to people is how impactful this is over a 12-month period. It's incredible when you've had a story and a history of multiple issues, whether it's the social isolation, the anxiety and depression, all of the medical complications that you've dealt with for so many years. And in the space of 12 months, you've completely turned that around.
Yeah. I'm not the person I used to be. My mental strength is so much stronger. My physical strength is something, you know, I couldn't even tie my shoelaces properly. I'd have to get my husband to help me before. You know, it's just the little things in life that you should be able to do and comfortable doing, you know, that shouldn't be a struggle. And now they're not. It's incredible. You know, before, if someone would have said to me, oh, Candice, we're going to go climb Mount Nathan, I would have just laughed. Have fun, guys. But I actually did it. One of the girls I met through this journey, she said, would I be interested in doing it? And I said, you know what, let's do it. And I tell you what, it is the last part of the journey up the Mount Warning. They call it Mount Warning for a reason. It's a 400 meter like steep climb. You know, you've got metal rails that you're pulling yourself up. There is no way I could have done that at 139 kilos. You know, I did it. I got to the top. I got to sit there and actually take in the views. It was just an incredible moment to think, oh my God, I did this. Who is this person? You know, compared to, as I said, if you had asked me to even go for a walk, I'd be like, I'll drive, you know, I'll meet you there. Or but now, you know, I can do those things, and I just can't wait to keep ticking off goals and using my body to the full extent it should be.
That's an incredible sense of achievement, but I love the idea around, you know, consistently setting new goals for yourself and learning what your body is capable of. And climbing Mount Warning, I know that is no mean feat, so congratulations.
Thank you.
A huge effort. I'm sure there were a few sore muscles the next day.
Very sore, so.
That's so worthwhile.
Oh, 100%, just absolutely kicking goals and so happy to be doing those things.
Tell us about some of the goals that you're setting for yourself. What are the physical goals that you're trying to achieve now? What would you like to do?
The next one for us, we're going to do the 10K Gold Coast Marathon and partake in the WLSA training team. So super excited about that. You know, 10Ks is huge for us to be able to push your body to that. From someone who couldn't even walk to, you know, pushing yourself into a 10K. So I'm really excited for training and picking up that cardio side. I'm also working on myself personally. So I've hit my goal. My first goal to get to 80 kilos from the 139. So I've got there. I'm super happy about that. And now it's about changing my physique pretty much. I want to focus on strengthening my body. My mind's there. I just want to get my body stronger, and that's what I'm really looking forward to.
Do you ever stop and think, I've lost the body weight of a full person, one person, and imagine what that feels like? And we were talking about this just before we started the interview.
Yeah.
You've actually lost in excess of my total body weight.
I have. I lost to Felicity.
So, I mean, the idea for me that this could be my body on your shoulders walking around all day.
Yeah.
It's huge.
It is. It's incredible. I can't explain the energy that you have now, not having to carry that extra person, you know, equivalent to you know, 58 kilos. For me, I don't know how I used to function with that, you know, being tired, lethargic, just not having energy to do anything, to actually being like, yes, let's go out and, you know, yes, you can, yes, let's do this. You know, and the fact you can keep going all day, you don't hit a peak in the afternoon and you're like, all right, nap time, you know, you keep going, you've got that energy and it gets you through the day. And, you know, you still can go to the gym in the afternoon, you can still do these things and look after yourself rather than, you know, going home and sitting on a couch and being miserable. You're out there actually enjoying life.
Doing the things that you should be doing at age 34.
100%.
I should qualify that when you talk about the we in this conversation, that you have a husband.
I do.
Beautiful husband, and that the two of you went on this journey together, had your surgery together on the same day.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
He's doing incredibly. So proud to be able to do this journey with him. We've gone through everything together, which, you know, we've been together 15 years, which is a very long time. And the fact that we've done it together, it's nice to have someone who understands and gets the journey as well. We encourage each other, we push each other, which is so nice to have. And he's absolutely smashing it at the moment. He's gone from a man that, you know, we did a DEXA scan recently. He's gone from someone who was, you know, 140 kilos down to, he's got, I think it's something like 12% body fat, which is nothing. He is all red. He, in the scan, he shows up, he's muscle. You know, for an athlete, it's 5% body fat, and he's sitting at 12%. So he's just incredible. He's so strong, and he pushes me to help achieve my goals too. So it's so nice to have that.
What are the things that you think has changed most in your relationship together since having surgery and being lighter people? What's changed for you?
Just energy, us actually going outdoors. We're actually going and having a life, you know. We're not too tired anymore, we're not embarrassed, we're not ashamed, we're out there living our lives and experiencing new things together, you know, taking weekend drives, doing hikes, you know, just being out with and socialising with people. These are things we missed in our lives for the fact that we just didn't feel comfortable, you know. And for us, we're doing those things now, and we're so excited, so excited.
Beautiful. Can I ask, did you ever have anyone who gave you any negative feedback around having surgery? And if so, how did you deal with that?
Look, honestly, it was really supportive. A lot of people are now aware that this surgery is out there, or they know someone who has had it done. So it is quite a supportive community. And the people that sort of have that negative line towards you, I don't feel they had our best interest at heart, in all honesty. You know, they're those toxic people who pretend they support you but aren't always really genuinely there to see you succeed. You know, and for me, it's really helped me with my journey of, you know, accepting myself and not valuing so much other people's opinions and being comfortable in my own decisions. And as I said, there's so much support in this community. I have made great friends, and they get it. They understand. We've all had those ups and downs throughout the journey you do in life, but there's so much support out there. And without that support, you know, it's amazing just to have people, like-minded people who are out there achieving goals and feeling good about themselves. And that's how people should be, supporting each other, lifting each other up, and achieving things together and being happy for people around you who are achieving great goals.
Definitely, surrounding yourself with the right people. I totally think that that's the best way to do this. But, you know, I think it's also important to understand that not everybody is going to be a supporter, and managing that conversation can be difficult. And removing yourself from those toxic relationships, I think, is probably the best way to deal with that.
Definitely.
So you're 34 years of age now, you're married to a beautiful man.
I sure am.
And you're thinking perhaps down the line that you might like to start a family.
We are. So that was one of the main reasons my husband Andrew and myself decided to go down this journey. We'd purchased our first home, we were doing well. For us it's about IVF and going through IVF, and for us to start that step, we wanted to make sure we were going to give that opportunity the best chance possible. And for us, you know, being 139 kilos, we weren't going to be the best parents we could be. We were not going to be the healthiest that we could be going forward and going through to that journey. So for us, it's so important, you know, we're at a place we're healthy, we're eating great, we're exercising, you know, so that if we are lucky enough to conceive, then that way we'll be able to keep up. We won't have that fear of, oh my God, who's going to chase the kid this time? Or I'm too tired, I'm too exhausted. Together, we can do anything. You know, we've shown how far we've come, and we're ready for it 100% now. We had concerns and fears, as I said, with health and things like that, but we're 100% ready to take on this journey together, and I can't wait. I can't wait to see what the future holds for us.
It's limitless, so I love that. And I've seen so many patients over the years who have not been able to get onto IVF programs because they've needed to lose 50 kilos first, where it's the female who's having more of the issues surrounding the fertility equation. And many women also who have polycystic ovarian syndrome, endometriosis, and other medical conditions that impact their ability to conceive. And, you know, I think the important thing is you're going to be the healthiest incubator to have not just to, you know, to have a pregnancy that's successful, but also to carry to full term and have a healthy baby at the end of it. And that's what we're looking for, which 100%. I think it's one of my favourite, you know, stories when we see people go down that pathway and eventually start families. It's really exciting to watch.
I can't wait. It is such an excitement. We've been together, as I said, for a very long time. We've wanted this for so long. So for us, it was important to get ourselves in check, to make sure that we could, you know, we were the best versions of ourselves, so that we could be the best parents we possibly can. So thanks to WLSA, I can't thank you guys enough. Without you guys, we wouldn't have been so successful. We've had the support throughout the whole journey, not just at the start, and continue to support us no matter what it is. You know, if we've got questions around food or health or anything like that, you guys are there. We just pick up the phone and you guys are ready to help us no matter what it is or how minimal it is. There's no question that you guys aren't there for us for. So it's so nice to be a part of WLSA team, and I absolutely love it.
Well, that is absolutely our intention, and we love the community that's growing every day, and that you're now there to be a mentor to newcomers, and that our patients can share and engage with others, I think is really important, because as a patient coming into this, it's a frightening and scary kind of step to take, and having someone who's walked that path before them to really share and have that conversation can be the one thing that also makes a difference outside having an amazing professional team of people. So now that you've lost all this weight, your family have watched you struggle throughout your teenage years and as a young girl. How do they feel about your success now?
So incredibly proud. You know, it's so nice to see your family. They're so relieved, you know, instead of having to worry about my health issues or, you know, my exhaustion, or, you know, it's just nice. I actually get to enjoy moments with them. I'm, you know, so happy to have them and to be a part of it. My family is incredibly supportive, as I've said, and without them, you know, I can actually, as I said, I can actually go and do things with them now, whereas before, you know, I didn't want to. miserable, and now I'm actually happy and I get to enjoy moments rather than, you know, shutting down and having those anxieties. It's great to be a part of that moment and be a part of the family.
Brilliant. How has work changed for you?
Incredibly. Honestly, I don't feel sluggish. I'm not tired anymore. I'm not drained. I can think clearly. Like, it's just these little things that you don't realize, that you think that's how you're supposed to function. It's not. The difference between, you know, losing that amount of weight and your health, it impacts massively. You know, as I said, mentally you're more awake, you're aware, you physically can keep up with these things now. You're not sitting back and taking a back seat. You can actually take control of your life and push yourself to hit new goals and achieve new things, and I'm so proud that I can do these things.
Oh, I love your positivity. It's just infectious, and it's interesting to learn, you know, that mental clarity is something that you gain when you lose weight. Not just having the energy to perform better and to achieve more in every aspect of life, but having more mental clarity.
Yeah.
I think that's a really powerful statement to make.
It is. You don't realise how much you suffer and miss out on. For me, I think the hardest thing is fear, and letting that fear control your life. You know, taking that first step and getting in contact with you guys was the most important thing we ever did. It was quite scary to take that first step, because you think, as I said, am I good enough? Am I worth this? Am I going to fail? And without, you know, with WLSA, you've got that support. You're not alone. You've got people there who want you to succeed, and it's amazing what you can achieve, and how much better you'll feel in yourself, and putting yourself out there. You're just not the same person anymore, you know, mentally healthier, physically healthier. Just my whole life has turned around and improved. You know, I'm not the same person I was a year ago, and I just can't believe how much growth I've had in a year's time. So
amazing. What about the financial investment? You know, we know it's a significant outlay.
Yeah.
And yes, you question your self-worth, and am I worth this investment financially? How do you look at that now, 12 months later?
I wish I had done it sooner. I wish I hadn't waited and as I said, had that fear or second guess my self-worth, because you are worth it. It's an investment in yourself.
100%.
For us, financially, we didn't have the money right then. We actually went through our super, and WLSA helped us through that process and put us in contact with people who could help us with that. And best investment ever. Best investment is investing in yourself. You can never waste money when you're investing in yourself and ready to change your life.
I couldn't agree more. It's actually fabulous having you on the podcast and hearing your story. I think it's a really powerful story, and I'm sure it's going to resonate with so many people. And I can't actually even begin to imagine how many 33-year-old women are sitting out there in a similar situation, struggling with the struggles that you had at 33. But think about where you are at right now at 34. It's pretty incredible. It's so impressive, and congratulations to you.
Thank you so much.
Oh,
honestly,
it's amazing.
As I said, I wish I had done it sooner. I wish I didn't put myself on the back burner. Do it. Don't be afraid. Take control of your life and make a change. It's okay. It is scary, but you've got people there who are ready to support you throughout the journey. The community is great. People, the staff, fantastic, you know, and people want to see you succeed. They're there to support you through this journey. And you can do it. You can.
I agree.
It's time.
Beautiful. I have a final question for you. So the podcast is all about wellness warriors. And I'd just like to ask you in closing, what does wellness mean to you?
For me, wellness is about being able to physically do things, to mentally be able to push yourself beyond what you think you can do, to push through those limitations. And I can. I am feeling so well in myself that I'm ready to take on challenges. I'm not scared anymore. The old me had that fear and just couldn't push past it. But thanks to wellness and everything like that, I can push myself further than I ever have before. I'm feeling great. I feel happy, you know, and it's sad to think that I had to wait till I was 34 years old to feel this way. You know, everyone should be able to feel this way. So I'm very thankful.
Couldn't agree more, and it's been lovely to have you on the podcast today. Thank you, Candice, for joining me, and I look forward to the next stage of the journey, and maybe we'll have another chat down the track and we can talk about where you're headed next. It's been great having you here.
Perfect. Thank you for having me. It's been great.
Thank you for joining the Wellness Warriors podcast. It's been a pleasure to have you online with us. If you enjoyed the series, please leave your review, subscribe and follow, and we look forward to sharing many more stories with you in the future.